this week in New York, a shocking victory of 28-year-old Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez over Democratic incumbent Joe Crowley sent shockwaves through the Democratic Party. It could also have a big impact on the November election. Here to weigh in, politics, roll call politics reporter Bridget Bowman. Bridget, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I want to start our conversation by playing the soundbite for you. It's a little bit old. It played on Wednesday, but I think it's really poignant. So I want you to listen to it, and I want to get your reaction.
Its extrajudicial nature is baked in to the structure of the agency, and that is why they're able to get away with black sites at our border, with the separation of children.
What do you mean black sites?
When we know that children are being kept and that human rights abuses are happening in without any sort of transparency.
All right, that is the candidate who won the primary. She beat out Crowley. She's really villainizing ICE in that soundbite. That was my takeaway, and we're seeing that with other people, other Democratic. Some of them are all lawmakers. Some of them are competing in the primaries. When you villainize an agency like that, you start to get really extreme. Where is this going is my question, and where is it going on the political landscape?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have seen Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said early on in her campaign that she was for abolishing ICE. Right. This is a position that some other candidates are starting to take on. It'll be interesting to see if people in swing districts, especially in House races, these competitive seats, if they're going to face pressure to take similar positions. I would be skeptical that they would take those positions because they don't want to be cast as extremes of their party. Important to note that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez won in a very Democratic district. So she kind of can go out there, be more liberal than some of these folks in other races as well.
But as we sort of see this primary season continue, when you see rhetoric like this, and there are the extremes, do the establishment characters like the Nancy Pelosi, do they want to rein that in?
I think it depends on the district, probably to some extent. Like you see leaders like Leader Pelosi cautioning people not to talk as much about impeaching the president, because they don't see that as a winning message, especially in some of these really competitive House races, that they're trying to unseat Republicans. They're trying to talk to voters who have supported Republicans in the past and say, choose a Democrat instead. So they don't want to be out there going kind of farther to the left, and I could see leaders kind of pushing back on that.
But, so we're looking at these live pictures, and you see these. You see thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, people gathering, and we're starting to see this sort of abolish ICE and some of these really far left, speeches. I guess you could say campaign speeches really take place even in these rallies. So how far left are Democrats going to be going this season?
That's a good question. I think to the extent of immigration, that's certainly something that Democrats see could maybe energize voters, especially Latino voters. This is a block of voters that hasn't traditionally turned out as well for Democrats as they've hoped. I think it'll be interesting to watch what Republicans do, especially on immigration. Some of the Republicans that you see out there pushing for Congress to act on this issue are folks in districts with high Hispanic populations, people who see inaction as something that could be a problem for them for their reelection.
What was your biggest surprise, aside from that New York race, that, if I'm not mistaken, it was the 14th district? What was your biggest surprise aside from that?
Oh, that's a good question. There were actually 4 New York City incumbents facing some pretty formidable Democratic challengers, and 3 out of them won, except for Crowley, of course, which was sort of interesting. One congresswoman won by a pretty small margin. So that was sort of surprising, but no other really big surprises. That was definitely the shocker of the night.
All right, well, we'll see what happens with the next one. We're some on the docket. So thank you so much for joining us, Bridget. Appreciate it.